Have you ever noticed something strange about people? Some people only remember you when their world is falling apart. When they feel lonely, they call you. When they are broken, they come to you. When they are lost, suddenly you become the most important person in their life. And every single time you open the door for them, because it feels like love, it feels warm, it feels meaningful, and it makes you believe that you matter deeply to someone. But one quiet day, a question slowly appears in your mind. What if it was never love? What if all this time you were not loved at all? You were simply needed. In a small village resting quietly between two soft hills lived a woman named Mara. The road leading into the village curved in such a way that you could never see what was coming until it was already right in front of you. In many ways, Mara's life felt just like that road. She was not rich and she was not famous, but everyone in the village knew her name. Not because she was powerful or important, but because everyone needed her. If a neighbor's roof started leaking during the rain, Mara would bring her husband's old tools and help repair it without being asked. If someone's child became sick and the parents had no one to watch the other children, Mara would welcome them into her home without hesitation. When an old man named Thomas lost his wife and stopped eating for weeks, it was Mara who visited him every morning with warm bread and sat quietly beside him until he slowly found his words again. People often said that Mara had a special gift. They believed she was born to help others. And Mara believed them too, because every time she helped someone, she felt a calm warmth in her chest, a feeling that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Mara had a husband named Edric. He was a quiet man with strong hands and gentle eyes. A man who could repair almost anything made of wood or stone. Chairs, doors, fences, broken walls. Drek could fix them all. But life was not always kind to him. Sometimes work became scarce and difficult to find, and during those times, something inside him seemed to close. He would stop talking at dinner. He would stop asking Mara how her day had been. He would sit silently by the fire and stare into the flames for hours. Mara would quietly bring him a cup of tea and place it beside him, and he would take it without saying a word. But when work returned, Edric returned as well. The warmth came back. His jokes returned. The lightness in his voice returned. Mara told herself that this was simply what love looked like. You hold someone during the dark seasons, and eventually the light comes back. Mara also had a close friend named Sela, someone she had known since childhood. Sela had a loud laugh and a bright personality that could fill any room with energy. But Sela had a habit that Mara slowly grew used to. Whenever life was going well, Sela was too busy to visit. But whenever something went wrong, when she argued with her husband, when she lost money, when she made choices she regretted, she came directly to Mara's house. She would sit for hours, pouring out her worries, frustrations, and sadness. Mara listened patiently to every word. And when Sela finally left, she always looked lighter, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. But Mara would remain behind in the quiet house, feeling strangely heavier than before. Still, she told herself that this was what true friendship looked like. A real friend shows up when life becomes difficult, and Mara felt proud that she could be that person. There was also a young boy in the village named Doran. He was 17 years old, restless and full of energy, always finding himself in small kinds of trouble. Not cruel trouble, just the kind that comes from growing up without direction. Doran had no father, and his mother worked far away most of the year, leaving him alone for long stretches of time. Slowly, Mara became the closest thing he had to family. She gave him small jobs in her garden so he could earn money. She listened when he spoke about his dreams of leaving the village one day, and when he needed help, she quietly lent him money, always telling him that he didn't have to pay it back. But deep inside, Mara secretly hoped he would return it someday, not because she needed the money, but because it would show that he respected her kindness. For 2 years, Doran came to her whenever life became difficult, and Mara gave and gave and gave. One day, he looked at her and said something that filled her heart with warmth. He told her that she was the closest thing to a mother he had ever known. Those words meant everything to her. But slowly, without realizing it, Mara began losing something important. She stopped sleeping well at night. Her own small garden, the one she had once planted for herself, had grown dry and neglected. The flowers had faded and weeds had begun to take over. But Mara was so busy helping everyone else that she never noticed how empty her own life was becoming. Then one autumn, something unexpected happened. Mara became sick. It was not a dangerous illness, but it was serious enough that she had to stay in bed for nearly 2 weeks. For the first time in many years, Mara could not help anyone. She sent word to the village that she was unwell, and then she waited. Edric tried to take care of the house, but after a few days, he began mentioning how much work there was to do. He said he was trying his best, but it was difficult to manage everything. He was not cruel or angry, but in quiet ways, he made it clear that being the one who takes care of everyone was supposed to be Mara's role, not his. Sela visited once during those 2 weeks. She brought a small cake and spent most of the visit talking about another argument with her husband. Before leaving, she squeezed Mara's hand gently and told her that she would be better soon, because she always was. Then she walked out the door. Doran never came at all. Mara lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. Something inside her slowly became very still. She was not angry, and she was not exactly sad. It felt more like a quiet realization settling into her mind. She began thinking about all the people she had helped. The neighbor whose roof she had repaired had never once asked how she was feeling. Old Thomas, whom she had fed every morning for weeks, had built a fence between their houses once he recovered and barely greeted her anymore. She thought about Sela and all the hours she had spent listening to her problems, and how uncomfortable Sela always seemed whenever Mara tried to talk about her own struggles. Then she remembered Doran's words about her being the closest thing to a mother he had. Beautiful words, but a child who truly loves his mother comes to see her when she is sick. And suddenly Mara understood something important, something painful, but also very clear. She had not been loved the way she believed she was. She had simply been useful. Being loved means someone sees you even when you have nothing left to give. Being useful means someone only notices you when they need something from you. You can be very important to someone's life while they never truly think about you the moment you stop serving their needs. On the 14th day, Mara slowly got out of bed and walked outside to her small garden. The soil was dry and weeds had grown everywhere. For a long moment she stood there looking at it. Then she knelt down, pulled out the weeds one by one, and turned the soil with her hands. After that, she planted new seeds, but this time she was not planting them for anyone else. She was planting them for herself. That morning, Mara made a quiet decision that would change the rest of her life. She would still help people because kindness was part of who she was, but she would help differently. She would help when it felt true and right in her heart, not when she felt afraid to say no. She would give from a place of fullness instead of emptiness. And slowly, something beautiful began to change in her life. The people who truly cared about her started to appear more clearly, while the ones who only needed her began to fade away. Mara realized that real love is not about how much someone takes from you. Real love is about who stays beside you when you have nothing left to give.